Thank you, iDAC. So I'm the only one waiting in between your dinner time right now, so I'll try and make it quick. My name is Mahesh Waghdhare. I am a co-founder of StudioPod. We call ourselves People-Oriented Design. We are an urban planning, urban design specific firm. So a little deviation from all the talks that we are having specifically about architecture. What we deal with is everything between buildings, from large scale to big scale to small scale. And fortunately, we've been working in the last 15 years in a lot of places all across India. My background has been that I did my architecture in Mumbai and then went to my master's in urban design in the US and worked there for like several years and then came back and we started StudioPod with two more founders. And across India, we have worked on several large-scale, small-scale projects. So I wouldn't take a lot of time of talking about all these things, but today I'm going to talk about three different stories in terms of how we have looked at all the stuff which we have been talking about in a way today, but at different scales. We talked about a lot of tangible heritage. We talked a lot about architecture, the vernacular, looking back at our history. How can we look at that same thing from a different perspective at a large scale? I'll tell you a story about Chennai. This is an image of southern India. This is a NASA Google image on the right, in the middle. All the blues are a set of tanks. There are around 300,000 tanks all in south of India from the Eastern Ghats going towards the Bay of Bengal. And all of this was a part of a very, very important water system which was there, and it was well kind of oriented and in terms of well looked after over a period of from 3rd century BC. And what has happened over a period of time is this was because of the river systems which are going towards the Bay of Bengal. All of these are urban conservation of water over a period of time. But what happened is, as progress happens, we have like lost that kind of the tank systems which are again not looked after properly, or development happened, and this is what happens with flooding all across, right? And Chennai has witnessed right now two distinct kind of scenarios. One which floods in 2015 and a lot of damage, and day zero also happened in 2019. So contrasting realities at a bigger scale outside in the city, right? At the same time, in the northern India, we have areas like these which are depleting groundwater, and we have to serve with water tankers to get like potable water to us. So when we talk about large-scale systems, we are working on a project in Goa with the Urban Development Authority in 3 towns. And what we did over there was a full systemic kind of analysis of how water moves, how river and systems are. Looked at the flood-prone areas and zones that were there, and looked at the entire kind of evolution of the entire city itself and the city system itself, and how can we look at it in terms of using the entire river system to advantage instead of trying to look at it as a hazard, right? And it's very important to understand when not to build in these kind of towns which are developing right now. And that's exactly what we did. We created a larger story narrative about, with streets and river systems, and looking at those as like flood mechanisms, prevention systems. A lot of sponge parks, a lot of green streets were kind of denoted and marked out on the plan itself. And now we are actually identified based on the larger master plan projects, which are like public spaces, streetscapes, which are going to be implemented in the next year and are currently under construction. So we gave a whole roadmap. Again, we talked about one part of it, about resiliency, but we gave a whole roadmap to the entire city itself, the 3 towns. How can you go ahead and how can we look at these projects in such a way? One of the parks is going to be inaugurated next week, but the whole idea was to look at it from larger ecology system and come down to what can be done. Similarly, we're working in a lot of small, not small in that sense, but like a lot of developments which is private sector as well. This is one of the projects in Pune, where if you see the entire riverine system going towards the river was well kind of designated, and there you can see the greens going towards the river itself. What our master plan did was we looked at the entire ecosystem of the river and created an open space which was not centered to the master plan, but like followed the greens, then the water body itself, and created like an entire ravine park as one of the semblance of the master plan, and which is a passive recreation and active recreation on one side. So kind of a boomerang open space based on the natural water topography itself. So what that led to was a very sustainable kind of systems that could be established in terms of both water as well as like wastewater as well, and created guidelines for these open spaces to look at those and finally implement these as well. So a lot of these public spaces now we are implementing on our master plans that we have worked on, and this actually won a lot of awards recently as well. It has an entire study done on the biodiversity of the park, wildlife habitat around it, and kind of made sure that the entire canopy walk was sure to enhance the native vegetation and also ensure that we gave a very, very strong look and feel to the entire place itself. Nighttime kind of viewing for the entire ravine park, opening up the city views towards the whole area itself. And recently, the last state won the World Landscape Architecture Awards and also the International Federation of Landscape Architects Awards as well. So the point is it was one of the first projects to be recognized in this particular realm internationally as well, at a landscape level, at a public space level. The third story I want to talk about is very dear to my heart. It's a project of a street. So we talk about making sure our buildings look great, but how can that experience transform and go to the outside as well, where our day-to-day life happens, right? This is a very busy corridor in the financial hub of Mumbai. It was actually the project came about because we were working with one of these properties which was there on this particular corridor. It was bought by one of these developers, a commercial property, and they wanted to look at their outside to improve mobility because a lot of tempo parking was happening. They were not able to control that entire mobility situation, and how can they done it better, right? So what we did was we actually, over a period of time, worked with several collaborators internationally as well as in a lot of these India and other consultants too. Lighting, MEP structure. The idea was a whole public-private collaboration where the private sector invested into the infrastructure and all the public authorities gave the permissions for them. And this whole situation, which is any part of any city, which you will find, right? A lot of congestion, a lot of crossing issues, encroachments, parking, a very typical Indian scenario, which is there in a lot of our cities. So what we did was to kind of to streamline the traffic, ensure that we could actually make sure vehicular transportation was taken care of. We did a lot of studies. We actually increased the public realm, the footpath and the sidewalk, its area itself, and introduced more landscape, and a pilot cycle track to see how that could be worked out. So this is the final transformation from those images which we showed before. We also had an under flyover area which we had to take over and demonstrate how that entire public space could be achieved. And these are the images on the left hand side, which is the existing in the same place, was actually introducing more kind of bioswales, mechanisms of kind of water, kind of stormwater management itself as well, wayfinding signage, public art in a contemporary as well as remembering the old mill workers which were there in these areas. A lot of rest areas, a lot of fights we had to do with for introducing simple elements like benches on the streets where people could actually have a respite moment. So all of these elements were introduced where a lot of the space was contested, and in public realm, it's a very, very difficult thing to kind of make a traffic person understand that you need space. And we, in Mumbai at least, the modal share of people walking is more than 50%, and private vehicles have like less than 10%. So to have a democratic way of looking at our streets and public spaces is extremely important in that sense. And the most heartening thing to see is when we go the weekends is this space which was full with cars and traffic is like actually very well used by people around. They come for morning walks, they come for in the evening. People come over the weekends, kids come and play cricket, which is a very common phenomenon again in gully cricket in Mumbai. The entire, sorry, it got stuck. The whole underflyover area also we actually ensured that the entire space was well programmed. We introduced spaces which were very, very contextual to Mumbai, like a Vachanalaya, which is a reading area, right? We were able to, I think this is stuck right now, it's not going ahead. Sorry, the glitch always has to happen. in the last few slides. So this space actually, which was again happening in the left-hand side top, if you can see, it was quite redundant, nobody was using it. We actually opened up the entire space and it is used by the entire community around. They come in the evenings, they play board games, there are flexible spaces for kids to come and play. The Vachanalaya I talked about, if you go next. There's a space, there's like flexible play areas. The reading room in the month of February and March, which is the current time, is full with kids from the neighboring buildings, because in Mumbai, all the houses are so small and a lot of people actually cannot study in their houses, all the kids. So they come out in the streets and study under the lights. So this was a phenomenon which we discovered that if you give a space to them, which is well lit and well designed, it can be used very well throughout the space itself. So if we can keep going. So when bus stop designs were like articulated in a way, because a lot of bus stops are normally have a back to the entire compound wall of streets, so that you can't really walk safely, especially anybody with a kid or women walking in these spaces, right? It's very, very difficult to kind of feel safe. So how can you make it more modular, open, and very simple architecture like this kind of transformed how people are using the entire bus stop itself. And the public art also was engaging in terms of how it was contextualized. The whole theme is based on the entire the place itself of Parel and the transformation from the old industrial mill lands to the new corporate and residential neighborhood it is. Spaces like these got transformed into like a play cave, play space. We got actually a lot of people, you kids from the surrounding communities, as well as people from different parts of the city come and use this very small play space as well. So in a small 1 kilometer of a street stretch, we could actually get better intersections, better transformation in terms of these kind of entire corridor, much more safer place to cross. And in a small stretch of a kilometer, we could actually do more than 2 acres of reclaimed public space, more than 2,000 square meters, half an acre of open space, which was not there at all, which is a usable programmed open space, more than 100 trees. So if you can actually transform this, which is like in one small stretch of Mumbai, a kilometer which has 4,000 kilometers of streets, imagine we could actually plant like 100 into 4,000, right? 40,000 trees could be planted in all our streets itself, plus reclaiming much more area which is needed for public space and walkability itself. So it's a short presentation on the kind of work that we are doing. And thanks iDAC for doing the platform.